Hey there guys, it's PC Guy here, giving you an overview and review of NieR Automata. NieR Automata is a action role-playing game. It is published by Square Enix. It's part of the Drakengard series that they have a number of games previously, although it kind of stands a bit on its own in terms of theme. It is set on a far future where humanity has mostly gone extinct. I will not go spoiling the plotline a lot, but what I'm going to tell you now is all explained in the first like 30 minutes of game, and it is set in a future where humanity is extinct because of an alien invasion that unleashed machines that basically took over the world and annihilated humanity. Humanity fled to the moon, and they are fighting a proxy war against the machines through androids, which you are going to be playing. You play as the 2B character, although you also play parts of the game with 9S and A2, I believe. So you are not playing the entire game with the same character, and it is a bit as well in the game style of New Game Plus, as in you finish the game and then you can restart the game with more things unlocked and with higher difficulty and with other possibilities of things that you can encounter in the game. The game is available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and for Windows PC. You can tell that it was mostly a console game that was ported to the PC because much like Dark Souls and games like that, the controls and the camera are difficult if you are playing on the keyboard and mouse combo. It is doable. I have played all those games like that, but it is a bit more difficult than if you are playing it on a controller, although you can always just play a controller to your PC if you're doing it like that. I also encountered other issues, namely the ability to play in full screen windowless, borderless window. I mean, it is a bit difficult. I had to use a fan-made fix to be able to play in that mode, which you don't necessarily need. You can just play in full screen. But if you like me, like to alt tab once in a while to do something else while the game is running, when you tap back, the game reverts to a little window. So that fix is necessary, and it is a telltale sign that the game was not really made with PC in mind. Performance-wise, the graphics are fine. They're okay. The game actually looks pretty good. You have a good view of very diverse environments like abandoned cities, deserts, factories. There's even a little amusement park that you can see and looks pretty funny. And it is unexpected sometimes because you go into the game in one way, and this is a very minor spoiler, by the way, that I'm going to say now. You get to that amusement part, and you expect, well, from what you hear from the androids, from your team, let's say, you expect the machines to be this bloodthirsty, violent race, let's call it. And you get to the amusement park, and they're there playing with balloons and party hats and playing music and throwing off fireworks. So it throws a few curveballs in your way, the game, in terms of what you expect from the plot. So I'm not going to spoil the plot further, but there are some unexpected twists and turns in there. The downside, in terms of the scenario, is that some areas like the desert is just sand and sand and sand and more sand, and it can get a bit boring, especially because you do not unlock fast travel until later on in the game, so you will be traversing this enormous zones on foot. Now, unlike, for example, I keep comparing it with Dark Souls because it's one of the games that I played lately that is a bit on the similar side in terms of gameplay. Dark Souls games like that, it is a very massive world, but it is, in terms of the actual area, it is very vertical, and the area is very compact. You don't have to traverse an enormous distance to get to where you are, and the path that you take usually has things happening as enemies to fight that gives a bit of action to the mix. In NieR, you often find yourself running from one end of the map to the other, literally just running, and you do not really encounter enemies, and the ones that you do you can easily avoid if you want to. So it can be a bit slow in terms of the action sequences. You are not constantly fighting, and you have a lot of travel time and downtime in that aspect. In terms of developing your character, you can equip weapons and upgrade those weapons. You can also use plug-in chips, which are the main other than the weapons, are the main progression of your character. You can combine those plug-in chips with each other to upgrade them, and plug them into your system because you're an Android, and give you several different benefits. There's a very high number of them, as you will see. You also have naturally experience. Experience, however, does not play any sane role in this game. It gives you stats boost and not a whole lot else from what I could tell so far. The game includes a variety of different activities. You can fish to get some, things to sell and materials, which is, well, not exactly exciting, let's say. You can ride animals by using animal lures and that sort of thing, so that cuts down a bit on the travel time. And for the combat itself, the combat is, as you can expect in an action-packed action RPG. The combat is more on the style of, let's say, Devil May Cry, more on the fast-paced style than on the Dark Souls style. Although the bosses do remind me a lot of Dark Souls, like I keep saying. One minor gripe that I have with some combat sequences is that there are a bit of, like, let's say, side combat actions where you are, for example, piloting a vehicle, and it kind of reminds you of like a 1980s bullet hell game. And the controls again are not exactly ideal and seems a bit out of place. It's fun, but seems a bit out of place, and it does not really mesh with the rest of the game very nicely. They're not exactly challenging either, but that's beside the point. There's also times during boss fights that the fight just gets interrupted, and you get a hacking mini game where you have to dodge and destroy a little ball, also in the bullet hell kind of style. My gripe with it, while it's an interesting mechanic, my gripe with that is that you never really get a tutorial for that. It just gets thrown in there in the middle of the boss fight, and you have to figure it out. That seems to be a theme with this game and with this type of games in general, because much like Dark Souls, a lot of lore is not, and Bloodborne as well, a lot of lore is not really clearly stated out to you, and you have to be reading item descriptions and all that sort of thing and figuring out kind of for yourself. In one way, if you are like to explore, it's very interesting. In another way, if you are more the kind of just likes to have the lore presented to you in a more streamlined fashion, that is, well, you there will be things about the game you don't really understand and that you will be grasping at straws to come to terms with. The enemies seem a bit bland and generic. A lot of them are using the same or similar models. The machines don't really have a whole lot of, well, um, distinguishing features. They look like tubes with arms and legs, most of them. So other than bosses do stand out. But for the rest, uh, I get the feeling that there could have been. It's either intentional because those machines are just mass produced, and that's how mass-produced things look. They all look kind of like the same. On the other hand, it could also be a design flaw that they just did not spend a lot of time on different models. On the other hand, the player characters and the main story NPCs are a lot more fleshed out and a lot more well designed. They all have that traditional Square Enix Japanese RPG style. We all know why you're playing this game anyway. You saw 2B and you wanted to play it. So let's not pretend you didn't. Humor that you get from the other Android characters is a little bit strange. It is funny in a way because they're all machines, but in another way, it sounds a lot like a lot of teenage drama, and it's not what you expect from this setting of a post-apocalyptic world where everyone is a machine. It's a bit strange, but it does kind of lead to the whole how far can you build a machine up to the point that it stops being a machine and starts being more like a human in terms of what it feels and what it experiences. So I guess that is a bit the point of the game, and that's a bit of the deeper plot of the game as well. It does throw you some nice curveballs, like the whole machine in the desert wanting to know how you make children. But it is in one way funny, in another way, it is not really fitting with the setting of the game. But in any case, graphically, this game does take my recommendation. The game looks amazing, the environments look amazing, and the combat does have its nice points. When you're actually fighting, the combat is quite interesting and engaging. However, like I mentioned earlier, you do go through a lot of the game just running around, at least until you unlock fast travel, and, well, you don't do a lot of that fighting in a short sequence, like for example you would in Devil May Cry. My one warning to new coming players to this game is do not get discouraged by the start. When you do the starting area, well, it's basically a tutorial area, you do not have any save points. And in this game, you cannot save it just anywhere, you need to save at a save point. The first tutorial area is distinguishably lacking in save points, so it can well happen that you will be doing 20 to 30 minutes of tutorial and you die and you have to start it all over again. This is very possible because there's a moderately challenging boss at the end of this tutorial area. So I had to do it a couple of times because I was coming to grips with the controls and all of that sort of thing. But after you are past this tutorial area, save points are aplenty. You will not have a shortage of them. So just power through that area. My only other gripe is the camera. The camera twists and turns and skews around in very strange angles. This is clearly a remnant of it being mostly a console game that was ported. If you are not on a controller, you cannot control the camera as easily. However, with the function to lock on an enemy, that gives you a bit more breathing room without having to worry about the camera all the time, because your character will always be trying to look at the enemy it's locked on. So I personally like to make use of that function as often as possible. Now, what is my verdict on NieR? Well, I saw a few trailers way back then. The game was launched in 2017. I saw a few trailers. The game was not yet available on PC, so I kind of put it in the back burner and I tried it lately. I'm still going through it. I have not finished it yet. I haven't had a lot of time for it, but I am satisfied with the game. Like I said, it is a lot of running around before you unlock fast travel, which is moderately far into the game. Uh, let's say at the 4 to 5, 6 playtime hours into the game, so something like that. And well, like I mentioned during the rest of the review, the rhythm of the game is a bit of a letdown. I was expecting a bit more fast-paced, more action. Well, when there is action, that action is entertaining and it is good gameplay. However, there is a lot of a lull period between the fight sequences where you are running around from one end of the map to give an item to an NPC, and then you have to run all the way back to the same one, and there is nothing really much happening other than you just running back and forth. The map is also not super easy to read, so you could get lost once in a while and be trying to find your way. So there is a bit in terms of world building. It's an amazing world. It looks amazing. The graphics are great. However, it's not always easy to navigate. Also, things that you look at an obstacle and you think, yeah, this is an open world game. I can easily jump over that. You jump over that, but you hit an invisible wall, and you kind of have to find a way around. That is a bit of a letdown sometimes. Would I recommend you guys to play this game? I definitely would, with this in mind. If you do not require it to be always a fast-paced, always fighting game, then I would definitely recommend this game because it's pretty great. It has a lot of replay value with the whole New Game Plus system. It has quite a big number of different endings. For example, if you want to explore and experience them all, you can definitely do that. Keep in mind that there is one ending that erases your save data, so that's something I had not seen before. Keep an eye for that, and well, don't do something that's going to destroy your save files if you have been working on them for a while. So yeah, all in all, I would recommend this game to anyone willing to play a hack and slash roleplay game, as long as they're fine with the downtime, and if they are fine with trying to weed out the issues on the PC, like I mentioned, like the resolution and the wacky controls and the wacky camera angles. If you own a PS4 or an Xbox One, you probably should play this game there. You won't hear this from me often. I'm mostly it's in the channel name, as you can see. I'm mostly a PC guy, but I do admit that if I had a console, I would rather play this game on the console than on the PC. So keep an open mind for that, and be prepared to deal with some issues if you are playing on the PC. I'll put a link to the application I use to make it windowless, borderless windowed mode on the description in case you are interested. In any case, it has been a nice game. I still have to go through the rest. This has been Addict PC Guy. Like and subscribe and all that sort of thing if you enjoyed this content and the rest of my videos, and if this has shed some light on NieR Automata for you guys. I'll try to review other games that I play as time goes by, and I'll post it here so you guys can maybe see if it's the right game for you or not before you actually go and buy it. This has been Addict PC Guy. I'll see you in the next video and have fun.